Hello, welcome to Toffee TV. It is the match preview, Manchester City versus Everton at the Etihad. Joined by Everton's Echo correspondent, Joe Thomas. Thanks, Joe. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to be here again. Thank you.
It's good for you to come in for what is one of the easiest away games that Everton are likely to face ever. Now, listen, Manchester City away, it's always a very difficult game. It's mad to think that coming up to about, like 13 and a half months ago, since Everton last played at the Etihad, Frank Lampard was the manager. Lots happened since then.
Oh, absolutely.
And Everton got a draw, an unexpected draw that afternoon with a worldie from Damari Gray in it. You can't help feeling, and that was against all odds that day as well, you can't help feeling it's a similar situation this time where the odds are stacked against Everton. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind taking the exact same results and moving on from there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird because, yeah, you're right. Obviously, Everton are heavy underdogs in this. But I would give this Sean Dyche Everton side more of a chance of getting something than I would necessarily Frank Lampard's at that time, especially when you bear in mind where they were. Obviously, come back off the World Cup break and had that disappointment against Wolves, and then we know what happened after Brighton, United, FA Cup, Southampton. I just don't want to relive that again. But I don't mind reliving that trip to the Etihad when they're expecting the worst. And actually, Lampard's side put up a good fight. Obviously, Ben Godfrey, who would probably be involved at the weekend, was central to that, wasn't he? That Haaland still scored, but they definitely got under his skin.
Yeah.
I mean, my kind of lasting memory from that is I still can't really believe that Haaland stayed on the pitch. I thought it was awful what he did on Mikalenko. And seeing it right in front of you, whereas you had Mikalenko, obviously quite slight in comparison to Haaland, and he had his back turned, didn't know what was coming. It was a long run up from Haaland. He should have gone for that. That was horrible.
He was out of control, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
And, I had Conor Cody in the studio recently, and he was talking about that they decided to give him a whack and see, and it was Ben Godfrey who was going to do it, and as Haaland got up and said, "Was it you?" He just very quickly when you see a 6'5" fella coming towards you. But he obviously Everton that day rode the luck a little bit and it took a worldie. And with all the best Evertonian glasses on and hat and scarf and biasness, it still feels like it may well take a lot of good fortune and a worldie to get us something. Just because Manchester City, the switch seems to have flicked like it does in the new year with them. They tend to just start churning wins out. And we saw them go to Brentford the other night and Neil Maupay score again. And they went behind and then Phil Foden just went, right, enough's enough now. And they end up winning the game. And they're in that, it feels like they're in that groove again at the moment.
It feels like they're just starting to kind of whir up the gears, don't they? And we got that sense a little bit over Christmas when they came to Goodison, didn't we? Because again, there are reasons. I say this kind of tentatively. There are reasons for some. Obviously, that game Everton were brilliant. I thought first half they were really, really good. Second half they were just beaten by a better side, and you could just see the quality there. I thought that was one of the best performances I've seen at Goodison from an away side, and collectively, I think we've seen some very good individual performances. But collectively, I thought that second half for Man City, they were just unstoppable. And they had a bit of luck with the penalty, the Onana handball. But I think the second goal would have come anyway and gone from there. But they're fragile at the back. They concede most games, and this is an Everton side that create chances against most teams. Whether or not it takes them, that's probably more the issue at the moment. But there's no doubt that it's going to be a very, very difficult game. And I think that it's an interesting time to have this kind of game because trying to assess where Everton are right at the minute feels just so difficult for so many different reasons. On the one hand, they're getting on for, I think it's 1 win in 10. On the other hand, I spoke to Dyche about this last week. He goes, if you start the run 4 games early, you're in there, go for 14. You go, it's 5 wins in 14 and then 8 clean sheets. And on the other hand, they've only lost to Luton this year. So it's kind of, there are so many different ways in which you can interpret where Everton are right now. But I think obviously in the points deduction has a massive impact on this, and the injury situation does as well. It does feel it probably feels a little bit worse than momentum does than it actually is in reality.
Yeah, I mean, Premier League games, it's the last 10, 4 wins, 4 defeats, 2 draws. So if you looked at it that way, I mean, you're 14 out of, 14 out of 30 almost, half points. You go, that's okay. We would be on 29 points, we'd be having a different conversation because Everton would be whatever it is, 5 or 6 points outside the European spot.
Well, that's it.
But this conversation about the game itself, Joe, will probably still be very similar because Man City, they're the best team in the world, factually. And they are, like we've just said, they have clicked into game. You're absolutely right. The first half at Goodison, December 28th, wasn't it? Everton winning 1-0 and well in the game, had limited City a little bit. But that, whatever Pep said at half-time to them, they came out second half and we just got beat by a better side. I mean, the penalty for me wasn't a penalty. No. Dominic Calvert-Lewin misses a great opportunity at 2-1. We then go and throw. I mean, that day Everton basically threw 2 goals in the net and there was a penalty. So we have to make sure that isn't the case on Saturday at the Etihad. But we are going to have to overperform and we're going to have to hope that they underperform if we're to get anything. That's how it feels anyway.
Even more so with the injury situation.
And injuries as well, of course.
Deitch is operating with one hand tied behind his back, isn't he? Like, it's a threadbare squad at the best of times. And you look at not just the amount of injuries that they've got, but the personnel that are injured. You know, I mean, Abdoulaye Doucouré is so central to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, or better, not getting isolated. We've seen the issues it causes when Doucouré's not there over recent weeks. It feels like that's something that's getting up the pitch to support Calvert-Lewin. Feels like it's going to be something that's going to be very difficult to do against this Manchester City side at home. And obviously, they've got the scent of blood, haven't they, now as well? I think if they win their game in hand, I think they're top by rights, aren't they? Yeah. And you just, with Liverpool having lost at the weekend, you just think they're probably going to be on, and they haven't quite got that competing interests of European football either, have they, at the moment, which they would do in a couple of weeks' time when the Champions League comes back round. So, there is a lot of reasons to kind of go into this game and think, but you never know. Like I say, one thing that Deitch does seem to have instilled in this side is that resilience, that mentality. They can get anything from anywhere. And we, as I say, we saw a far less resilient side with far less belief get a point there last season. So fingers crossed. We'll
see. Yeah, I mean, one thing Sean Dyche has done well since he come in is change Everton's away form. You know, they're far more durable on the road now. He hasn't been able to correct our home form. I think that's his biggest conundrum, really, how to get us playing fluently at home and getting results, because 3 home wins in February is shocking, in my opinion. But away from home, we have been 5 away wins this season. We have been much better, but this is obviously a really tough place to go. If we have a look at the last time Everton played, the team from last Saturday against Spurs, obviously you've been at the press conference today, talked about Amadou Onana. They'll have a late check on him. But looking at that side, Ben Godfrey, he said cramp last week. Has he any indication whether Ben Godfrey's going to be fit?
It was cramp last week, so I don't think.
So you'd expect him to be fine. Do you think there'd be a change at right back? Do you think Godfrey will stay there for his pace?
I think it will probably still be Godfrey. Obviously, Ashley Young's come back to fitness. He played last week, and also Seamus Coleman obviously finished that game, so he's getting there. But I think Godfrey offers you a lot. I mean, when we went to Fulham and saw the team sheet, Godfrey at right back, I must admit I was having palpitations a little bit, because especially against Fulham, because I remembered his performance at right back against Fulham in the home game last season, and it was difficult. But he's proved me wrong. Well, I have to put my hands up and say, fair play to him. He did all right against Spurs the other day. I like him in certain positions, and right back isn't one of them, but he's doing a decent job, and I say his pace and his strength, they're crucial, for recovery, and just having someone in the box as well defensively. And we had a good game against Haaland last season. I know obviously that was in the middle, but I reckon that you'd probably stick with Godfrey at the time being.
So what would you do midfield wise then? Because if Onana is fit, because Idrissa Gana Gueye was fabulous last Saturday, best player on the pitch for me. Him and James Garner had a good game. Jack Harrison, in a little bit in and out off, but he's probably the best suited to the Doucouré role. But do you think that he'd go with that and Onana be on the bench, or do you think
I'd keep it the same? I would.
Yeah, would you?
And the reason being, I wouldn't play Amadou Onana.
Okay.
I'd rest him. If there's obviously still an element of doubt about him now.
Would you have him on the bench just in case?
Maybe have him on the bench so he's in and around it. But but I wouldn't be seriously thinking about giving him a big role in this game, because I think he's too important a player for the rest of the season for Everton. And I think we've got a couple of players all of a sudden that have just had 1 or 2 injuries over the course of the season. What we don't want is a scenario, say, with Decore in. I know it's different hamstrings, but he went out the team, missed him, brought him back as soon as possible. I'm not saying he was rushed or anything like that.
No,
obviously, he come back and then he's out again. And I think that the way in which the season's going to work and the way in which where Everton are right now, City isn't a free hit. Got to take it seriously. Got to do the best to get something out of that game. You never know. Everton haven't had much luck this season. Could be the one it turns. Could be the time that one finally goes in off Calvert-Lewin's backside, or they get a dodgy penalty or something. You never know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we do know about the penalties. I think we do know,
but
the penalties, Joe, but you never know.
But for those reasons, I would just protect Amadou Onana because I'd be looking at there's 8 days until they play Palace at home. And that Palace game is a massive game in the context of Everton. And we've got to work on the basis that this is an Everton side on -10 and potentially could face more. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen there, but you've got to work on the worst case scenario. And what Everton could do best to protect themselves at the minute is put themselves in the best possible position to take maximum points off Crystal Palace. And for me, if you had the opportunity, if Amadou Onana's 80% going into a game which odds on you're going to struggle with, just take him out the firing line, give him another 8 days and make sure that he's 100% for Palace, because especially a Palace side that won't have, by the looks of it, Eze in and Nora Lise as well. You take advantage of that and you target that game, and you go, all of a sudden, if Everton win that match, and around then we might have the points verdict, the appeal verdict back, might get a few more points back. You never know. All of a sudden, the momentum might shift the other way. So I protect Onana, and I probably carry on with where it was at the weekend with Young on the right in midfield, just because of defensively, you'll just offer a little bit of protection there to Godfrey, and there's a bit of maturity there and his experience. That all helps. If you haven't got Coleman on the pitch. So that's probably what I do. And Harrison in the kind of the tender Corey role, I think that's the best alternative solution that we've seen during the periods that the Corey has missed. It's not a perfect solution, but there have been a few times when it hasn't been bad. Did all right against Newcastle, did all right against Spurs the other day. He's probably the one player that Everton have got with that little bit of guile that can do that job better than anybody else there. Quite like to see Dan Juma in that, Rob. Obviously, he's not fit, and he'd be more attacking, and this wouldn't be the type of game to test that out. I think in that.
No, and obviously Gomez had a go, and he was all right in there as well.
Well, Gomez did well. He did a job.
He done okay, but I think I tend to agree.
And obviously, he got the goal against Palace, didn't he? So
I do think Harrison's probably the best suited in that role. Let's have a look at Manchester City last time out. For them, their lineup. There we go. They have Kyle Walker at right back, Diaz, Nathan Ake, Guardiola, Rodri, who is fantastic, then Silva, De Bruyne, Alvarez, Foden and Haaland. Yeah, it is. It's quite a phenomenal lineup, and then there's players still like Jack Grealish, Bernardo Silva, those kind of players who they can call on as well, and Oscar Bob, who's a young lad who's come through. There's so many brilliant players for City that you do have to just go, okay, let's just take it in sections, keep the structure right. The fella we've identified as the danger man, it's no surprise to anyone, is Erling Haaland. We put them up. Now, these stats are provided by SofaScore as well, if you want to download the app. The link is in the description. But 17 games for Haaland, 14 goals for him in XG of 15.67, so just underperforming. 5 assists as well. And his expected assist 1.27 per game in his heat map. He's quite active. He's not a bad striker to call upon, is he? And
no.
He's back in the mix now, and he'll be looking to get back in amongst the goals, won't he?
Yeah, he will be. I think probably the bigger threat for Everton is just look at those 4 in midfield that are just going to be camped around the edge of the box, aren't they? Because, I mean, the one thing that Dyche's Everton tend to be pretty good at is forcing teams out wide, so they've got to cross the ball and they can defend the box pretty well. Yeah. Obviously Branthwaite and Tarkowski will still have a very difficult job against Haaland, but that's at least playing to their strengths as well, isn't it? It's those players they've got that can unlock things around the edge of the box, isn't it? Like, obviously we saw Foden score.
Kevin De Bruyne, isn't it? Really?
That's it. Like, there's no doubt this is going to be an uphill task. And Rodri, obviously, his second half performance at Goodison was just phenomenal. I thought that was up there, like probably one of the best individual performances from my away player I've seen at Goodison in the last few years.
Totally.
I think when I think of that, I think Christian Eriksen for Brentford back end of the Lampard season when he came. I thought that he really purred, and Caicedo played very well in the Brighton 4-1 a year ago, didn't he? But Rodri's just
different
gear, isn't he? It's how fluid it is and how easy it looks
the world in his position. Unbelievable. So. Ned's done us a stats pack for the game, so let's have a look at that.
This Saturday at 12:30 p.m. kick-off, Etihad Stadium in Manchester, Man City take on Everton in the Premier League. Man City have played Everton a total of 53 times in the Premier League. Man City have won 25, Everton have won 18, and there has been 10 draws. In fact, Everton haven't beat Manchester City in the Premier League since the 15th of January 2017, a 4-0 victory. Everton have only won 2 points in the Premier League against Man City since that game, with 2 1-1 draws, one back in 2017 August, and the last one being New Year's Eve 2022 with a Damari Gray strike at the Etihad. This season, Man City are sitting second in the league. They've won 15 games, drawn 4 and lost 3. Everton sit 18th, they've won 8 games, drawn 5 and lost 10. Although Everton do top the clean sheet charts this season with 8 clean sheets, Man City have 5. Man City top goal scorer this season is Erling Haaland with 14 goals, Everton's Abdoulaye Doucouré with 6, and Phil Foden is Man City's most creative player this season with 7 assists to his name. If you look at the tackles table between the two teams, James Garner is on top with a total of 60 tackles this season.
Thank you, Ned. I mean, I was reading some of them and it doesn't fill me with massive confidence, Joe, but listen, we have got to go there and just keep our shape, which is something that Sean Dyche has got the structure of the side right going away from home. I hate the free hit thing. I hate it because it's a game of football and anything can happen on the day. So we have to accept the challenge that is in front of us. And then, like you said, almost what will be, will be. And then all eyes will go on to Crystal Palace, won't it? Because the Everton season won't be defined by Manchester City away at the weekend. No, I don't think so anyway.
No, I don't think so. But as I said, they've still got to go there with a little bit of belief. They can't take it as necessarily a free hit. I think this Everton side, this Sean Dyche side, is most effective against teams that underestimate it. And I think every now and then, we've seen it come up against sides in the first 15 minutes. They've just been up against. That's why they've scored so many early goals. You think of Brentford away this season, Brighton away last season. And Brighton at home this season, they can be so physical and aggressive that sometimes I think sides come out the traps and they're just not ready for it. And you can almost stun them a little bit early doors, and probably got to go hope that this is the game that Man City turn up for, expecting to win and get a little bit of surprise, because what we have seen is most teams are scoring against Man City this season. I mean, Brentford took the lead against them on Monday. I mean, Neil Maupay got the goal. So, I mean, if anything could kind of fill you with a little bit of hope that maybe something could happen. And like I say, that's got to be the target. If everyone could get an early goal, obviously it's a big if. But if they can start positively, try and get something out of it. We know how good they are from set pieces. Then after that, we'll see how it goes, really. That's got to be the best way, because they are due luck. They are due. Like, I mean, this could be that. And that's why I'm clinging on.
At least you're smiling, and that's good, because you're coming out.
3 Haaland goals disallowed for VAR.
That'd
2
be nice.
Penalties for Everton, one of which is outside the box, but VAR doesn't.
As if we'd got, now you are. That's it. Just talking pure fantasy stuff.
That's it. I mean, he scores a free kick.
These have scored 57 consecutive home games. But Everton have, a set piece might be at Everton. 50% of Everton's goals have come from set plays this season. So who knows? We could put them under pressure there. But it's going to be a huge task for the Blues, or the Salmon Pinks, that it'll probably be at the weekend. Going to the Etihad. Joe will be there covering it for the Echo. Let's hope Everton can surprise everybody and get a positive result. Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Make sure you check out Joe. All his Echo pieces, Everton correspondence, excellent, always well balanced, always good. So check that out as well, and we'll see you later.